You know how to whistle, don't you? You just put your lips together and blow. I don't say that nearly as sexy as Lauren Bacall did in that famous movie, but we are going to whistle. And so, not long ago, I was gifted a whole bunch of this. It's basically about, one by one, not quite, pieces of oak. And this is left over from a friend's flooring that she had installed. And she said, hey, I've got a whole bunch of this oak little pieces. Do you want some? Sure. If you ever, when you know how it is, when you start to build with wood, it's like every piece of wood, you just, yeah, I'll take it. And then you sit for the next 5 years moving it around in your shop until you figure out what to do with it. And anyway, so I was looking at these. I've got probably like 30 foot of this stuff. Some of it's, 3 or 4 foot long. And I was like, well, what the heck am I going to make with this? And I was on one of my Facebook groups, and a guy was making whistles. And I thought, that's cool. I'm going to make a whistle. So I started making some whistles. And they're just fun little things. Okay. And you can be creative with them. I should have brought another one that I have. I have one that kind of looks like a whale. It's just however you want to carve it. This one, I'd love to put like some wheels on it. It looks like to me like a early roadster, cruising down the road. So you can have some fun with it. Let's just talk a little bit about the basic mechanics of the whistle and how easy they are to make. This is going to be one of those 20-minute videos for a 5-minute project, because it's really quick to do, and it's really rewarding. It's a lot of fun. So basically what you're doing, you have got a chunk of wood. You're going to drill a hole in there, and then you're going to cut this slot here, and then we need to plug both of those holes somehow. But this one we're going to plug completely. This one, we just want to cover it part way, because what you're doing is right here where I've drilled that's made a sharp edge. And what we want to do is we want to split the air that we blow into it across that edge. So we're going to take a little dowel, and you can see I've shaved a flat spot up here. There you go. And that's going to go on the top. And when it gets glued into place, what you'll see is the end looks about like that, where you've got just that little tiny slot for the air to go to. And that's going to split the air across the top of that hole that you drilled. It's really that simple. So super simple to make. You don't need many tools. You're going to need something to measure with, a pencil. You're going to need a drill bit. Now I'm using a 1/2-inch Forstner bit. You could use a standard drill bit. Would work just fine. I happen to like the way that Forstner bit cuts. And you're going to need some dowel. Now, one thing I found with dowels is that when you go buy, you say, oh, I'm going to use a 3/8 drill, so I need to go buy 3/8 dowels. There's a pretty good chance that that 3/8 dowel is going to be way too loose in the hole. And I think what happens is they cut the dowel to 3 inches, but it's a little bit wet. And then as the wood shrinks, it's smaller than 3/8 of an inch. I said 3 inches earlier, didn't I? Anyway, so buy a size bigger. I mean, if you want to, drill a hole in a chunk of wood and take it with you to the hardware store, I guess, and test fit. But that's just been what I've found on that. I did find some 1/2-inch dowel that actually works with a 1/2-inch hole. This guy here is a 3/8 hole, and then I used I used a 1/2-inch dowel, but then I used my sander, my belt sander, to just basically take it down till it was a snug fit. So then what you're going to do is you're going to shave that off, make that flat spot, and then it's a matter of playing. You're going to play with a couple different things. You're going to play with how big that flat spot is. You're going to play with how deep you insert that into the hole. Okay. And then you're just going to play with it. So this 1/2 inch is loose in there, but what I can do is I can test. I can just put it barely in there, and then not getting much that way. So let's stick her in there a little more. Let's see. I know this one works. Okay, I edited this. I keep forgetting this, okay? So I drilled an open hole. You can see this end I did not drill all the way through. This is my little working whistle that I blew at the beginning. Okay. I drilled all the way through here for a reason, and that was just to kind of test things out, some theories and testing. But on these short little whistles, and I don't know the whole answer for this, if that hole isn't plugged, it won't whistle. So now I've plugged that hole with my finger here. Okay, it whistles, okay? Now, another thing you can do is basically what you're doing is you're splitting that air, and whatever volume you have inside the whistle, that's going to determine the note. So in other words, a long one like this one's about 6 inches long. It's going to be a lower deal, and you're not going to need as much to blow quite as hard either. Oop, I need to push him in just a little bit. Well, I swear I had this one working too. I'll play with that, but you heard that lower note. Okay, so another good demonstration of this. So, okay, there we go. Now I got my note. Maybe I just wasn't getting a good seal with that blue tape. Yeah, so that's what it was. So you can see I got that low note there, and it doesn't require near as much wind either. Oh, messed that one up again. There we go. But anyway, you'll get the idea when we start putting this together. Oh, you know what? I did it again. I forgot to close that back hole. What an idiot. It's like my first time, okay? So we got two different notes there. Okay, just depending on how long our tube is. Now, don't only think about length. I could actually take like I could probably get away with a 5/16 or something like that hole and get that, or 5/8 hole and get that through there as well. That might just make a bigger chamber, lower note. That's how they make those big train whistles. So anyway, let's get started. So I've got a square piece here. I cut it down. Actually, I squared it up first, roughly square. And I cut it down to about, I don't know what that is, about 2 3/4 inches there. And then I made this little handy center finder jig here. And I'm just going to mark that on 2 corners. Okay, and flip that around. Mark them again. Okay, so there I got a little cross hatch where my center is. And now I'm going to go to the drill press and I'm just going to drill down there. Now, this one I'm not going to drill all the way through. So the length of this, what I had to do with this one, on my particular drill press, it's only got a 2-inch throw on it. So, and my Forstner bit, let me just grab that real quick here. My Forstner bit, I've got about a 2-inch, what is that, 2.5 inch, I think. Yeah, about 2 3/8 inch length that I can drill into. Okay, so that means 2 3/8 this way, 2 3/8 this way. And this one I actually cheated, and I ended up using just a standard bit to do that final bit there in the end here. So since I can only do 2-inch throw on my drill press, I finished it out with a handsaw. I used a drill press because that helped me get that hole nice and square, and then finished it by hand or with a regular hand drill. One of these guys finished it off by hand to get that full length. So I'm going to go drill this guy, and we're going to go from there. Okay, so I'm here at the drill press, and I've got my stop block set. I've already checked. Here's that throw I'm talking about. It's not going to let me drill through the whole works, and I've got this marked, so you can see my X there. Now, you could center punch this if you want to. I usually just come over here. I've got that fairly square, and I'll set that up until I see the point, hit that, just like so, and then I'm going to turn on my press. Now, this is a little bit hazardous. I don't want to teach unsafe stuff, so what I'm going to do, let's see here. Now, I would be a liar if I told you I don't do this all the time, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just one of my squeeze clamps here, and I'm going to squeeze that down, just laying it flat on the board. And this is a good idea anyway. It helps you just hold that a little more stable. I'm going to hold it down there, give it a squeeze. And now that's really nice and stable. It's not going to go anywhere on me. Plus, I can hold on to something besides the piece of wood next to a fast spinning tool. And always remember, almost everything that's involved in woodwork cuts. Whether it's a drill, whether it's sandpaper, whether it's a saw blade, it cuts. And if it can cut this piece of oak, it can sure as heck cut you and me. So here we go. Look square on. This is a really inexpensive Forstner bit I got at Harbor Freight, believe it or not. They have two sets there, and this is the more quote-unquote expensive set, but they cut really well. So I'm backing out those chips every once in a while. Okay, there, I just started to raise up a little bit. I'm about to the end here of the throw of my drill press. Yep, that's it right there. That's as far down as I can go. And raise that up, and we're done. Okay, so it's that quick. I'm going to release this from here so it can slide back down, and there we go. Dump that extra sawdust out. I use a backer plate here, this base, just an old 2x4, and one of the reasons for that is, you know, with this, you know, if something were to happen, it keeps my drill bit from hitting the metal platform, and it just provides something, I don't know, it just feels a little more stable. So there you go, we got a hole drilled. It's almost in the center. It's close enough for a fun whistle for a kid, and we'll go back over to the workbench. Okay, so we got our hole drilled, and so now what we're going to do is we're gonna pick a side to work on here, and yeah, I'm a little bit off center. I'm going to go off this side here, so I'm going to go off the top, and basically what I want to do is I want to measure about a third of the way down here, third of the way down that hole. So that's going to be, it's about 1 centimeter, and I'm using centimeters just because it's a little easier. So now I want to mark this 1 centimeter down. That's how deep my hole wants to be, or my cut. And then I'm going to use a square here just to notch that off. Draw that line. Okay, so that's about where I want that to be. That mark is about a third of the way down. It's kind of hard to see on oak. Mark is about a third of the way down. And now I want to go about 3/8 of an inch in. So let's see, there's 3/8 right there. Okay, square that one off. Mark that. Okay, so I've got the distance from here to here I'm going to cut, mark there. I want to cut that about that deep. And now for my angle. Now, the angle I've just been kind of eyeballing. And so far, so good. Okay, so I would say that it's somewhere about a 30-degree angle is about what I would guess there. I'm going to draw that. We're going to cut it, and if it's not good, we'll cut it again. The nice thing about this is if you screw it up and it just won't whistle for you, guess what? I'm out $2 in about 5 minutes because it's really quick to be able to check to see whether this is going to work or not. So I'm going to go over to the bandsaw there, and we'll just make those 2 cuts. I'll be right back. Okay, so I didn't show you the bandsaw cuts because I didn't figure that was too exciting. Basically, I cut this first, this vertical piece here, and then I cut this guy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of dowel, and I always cut these, you know, cut them plenty long. I could actually cut that just a little bit shorter, but that's all right. We'll work with what we got. I cut that again on the bandsaw, and then I'm going to use my knife, and I'm just going to shave a side of that flat. So we'll just shave here. We're going to shave that about, I want to say it's not quite, what seems to work here? Boy, maybe it's 1/8 of an inch or so that you're leaving as an opening there. And basically what you're doing is you're directing all your air across that cut edge there. And I guess I should have showed you that cut edge. So I've got a flat there, you know, and you're going to get a little bit of a jagged flat. So I'll just take a piece of sandpaper and I'll run it across here. And I'm probably going to go ahead and cut this down a little bit. I always cut them a little bit longer than I actually need them at the end. And so why don't I cut that down, because that's even going to be hard to test. So I'll cut that down and then we'll come back and test it here. Okay. So let's see what we got here. I'm just going to slide that in there. That's a nice snug fit this time. Really nice snug fit. Looks like I need to make a little more room for air on this one. Yeah, I don't think I've got quite enough room for air on that one. Sometimes I think it's just how much I wiggle when I'm running the saw or running the drill, and how straight my hole is. Yeah, it's not. Okay, it's getting close. Try and move. I'm scooting it forward to try it out. Not quite. So I'm going to take a little bit more off there with my sandpaper. Just make myself a bigger gap. So I think that's my issue, is I'm not getting enough air through the hole there. This is a nice snug fit on this one. So now I've got it down about that far out around. Let's try that. Yeah, that looks like a better opening. Let's get it a little bit more forward. Let's try him even closer. Oh, he's close. Okay, so I ended up moving that quite a ways in there. If you can see it there, I'm clear in here. Okay, and that's the end of it. And I've got a good whistle. Okay, that's nice. It's about the same tone as this one, I think. Let's see here. This is my finished speed razor. Yeah, that one's a little crisper. Yeah, so there you go. That's how you do the whistle. And so the next step is we're just going to glue that in there. So we're going to take that out. Now, this one ended up being pretty flush, was my magic spot. Okay, but if I'm sticking out proud there, I go ahead and glue it proud. This the Fipple here. That's called a Fipple, which is just a fun word anyway. So I'm going to glue it proud, and then I'll sand it down at the end. And when it comes to sanding, you know, you want to avoid a couple different places. Avoid sanding too much off of this vertical face here. That seems to change things if you don't have some isolation there. And then I always try and sand a nice rounded lip plate, you know, so it's comfortable, you know, easy to do. And then the rest of it is really up to you. You know, I went to kind of a bullet tip with this, but you can just make it a nice round thing. You can keep it square if you want to. On this long guy, you could do some cool things and carve. I made one for a friend of mine before I made the whistle. I got it all glued up and everything. And then before I started sanding, I took it over to my laser and I engraved his name on the bottom side. And then all my sanding I did around that so I wouldn't disturb that name on there. So there's just a lot of things you can do. And honestly, when it comes to the actual work portion of this build, it really is about 5 minutes to make a whistle. The rest of it is just, you know, sanding and stuff like that. Now for a finish, you can do different things. You know, everybody was worried about food proof. You are putting this on your mouth. Really, any finish technically is food safe as long as it's fully cured. One of my favorites that I don't have here, I really went kind of odd with the finish, but it looks really nice. And I just rubbed it with olive oil. Okay, that's food safe, right? So I rubbed it with olive oil. This one I actually used 4 or 5 coats of satin lacquer, just spray lacquer. And that seemed to do the trick pretty well. And again, once it's cured, it's not like you're chewing on this, you're doing that. You're blowing on, it's not really even in your mouth, it's on your lips. So, you know, you can take with that what you want. Now, if somebody gets cancer in 43 years from now because they used a finish that they claim I said was food safe, well, they can sue me for everything I want. So anyway, I just get sidetracked there. Use your own judgment when it comes to the finish you use on it. You can also leave it unfinished on a porous wood like this oak. It almost sucks the moisture from you when you do it. I was blowing it unfinished. You can feel the moisture just leaves your lips. So I would put something on there. Beeswax would be awesome on here. So, you know, do whatever you want. So on these guys where I've drilled all the way through is kind of experiment, and on this guy where I wanted that deep tone, basically what I'm going to do is I think I've got, you know, become an accent. I could glue another piece of oak on the end there, but happen to have some nice black walnut, and I'll just glue that to the end there to cap that off. Or I could use This is kind of interesting wood here. This is actually American elm, and it's got kind of a nice finish, but I think I like the contrast of that walnut better. I also have some cedar over there too. I think I might even have a chunk of purple heart somewhere. I don't know. I'll put something on the end of this guy just to block off that hole, and it'll work just fine. Heck, it'll probably even work with just the wood sitting there. So, excuse me. There you go. Whistles. They're fun. They're easy. They're cheap. They're a fun gift. You can make a variety of sizes. It's just one of those quick afternoon projects. It's not even really an afternoon. I mean, you could probably do a couple of these an hour, and that's if you're really slacking. But if you get production lines set up, just be a fun little thing to make and give away to the grandkids and things like that. So there we have it. That's everything. That's the project. Make yourself a nice whistle. It's a good gift. Until next time, be well, do good work, and I'll see you down the road. Dance, you crazy monkey, dance!